We've been following this breaking news all morning long for you. Newsmax confirming American forces have seized a tanker linked to Venezuela after pursuing it for several weeks. The tanker, originally known as the Bella One, slipping through a U.S. maritime blockade of sanctioned tankers and rebuffed U.S. Coast Guard efforts to board it. So the tanker, now known as the Marinera, was registered under a Russian flag and is the largest tanker seized by the U.S. since the onset of President Trump's pressure campaign against Venezuela. So this is big news. U.S. European Command posting this to X. The Justice Department and DHS, in coordination with the Department of War today, announced the seizure of the Bella One for violations of U.S. sanctions. The vessel was seized in the North Atlantic pursuant to a warrant issued by a U.S. federal court after being tracked by USCGC Monroe. The seizure supports the president's proclamation targeting sanctioned vessels that threaten the security and stability of the Western Hemisphere. The operation was executed by DHS components with support from the Department of War, showcasing a whole-of-government approach to protect the homeland. Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty is a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, just leaving an emergency briefing in Venezuela. Senator, a number of questions. Now, what can you share this morning about this Venezuela-linked oil tanker seized by the U.S. this morning?
Well, certainly the meeting that I just left was classified, so the content of that meeting, I'll not be able to share the specifics. But I'd say this. The level of coordination between every aspect of our military, our intelligence agencies, and law enforcement has been overwhelmingly, supremely executed. I could not be more impressed with the level of execution that's taken place. The leadership from President Trump and his cabinet have been extraordinary in terms of their ability to execute with the full force and effect of the United States military to deliver on law enforcement principles and objectives here. I've been duly impressed by that. What you see right now with the Venezuelan oil tanker that's been seized is part of a much larger program. President Trump announced this today. 30 to 50 million barrels of oil will be taken from Venezuelan stockpiles. These tankers, they will be sold on the open market at market prices, not discounted to China, not discounted to other adversaries. They'll be sold at market prices and used to deal with liquidity problems there in Venezuela. The Venezuelan military, the Venezuelan sanitation workers, you name it, the public workers there in Venezuela will be taken care of, not the corrupt politicians, not the other areas where it might be diverted. The United States, and under President Trump's leadership, those funds will be directed exactly where they need to go to keep the Venezuelan economy moving, to stabilize the Venezuelan economy. And again, much better that the United States has control of this so that we can avoid it falling into the hands of corrupt politicians and individuals that have been in control of Venezuela.
Can I ask just a basic question with this oil rigger that was seized by the United States? It's been reported that there was a Russian flag on this, but it's Venezuelan linked. Can you clarify that? Is this a Russian ship? Is this a Venezuelan ship?
My understanding is that it's actually owned by a Ukrainian oligarch. It's interesting that you have Russia actually standing up or shielding Ukrainian interest in this case, but it's a complicated story. And again, there's a lot of intel that needs to come together to explain this. At the end of the day, though, if the oil was sourced in Venezuela, we're going to see that oil sold for the benefit of Venezuelans, not for corrupt politicians, not for gangsters that are running that country.
All right. I have more questions on that. I'll get to this, though. It turns out this was just one of two operations carried out by the Coast Guard this morning. As you know, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, she posted this morning saying this: in two pre-dawn operations today, the Coast Guard conducted back-to-back meticulously coordinated boarding of two Ghost Fleet tanker ships, one in the North Atlantic Sea, one in the international waters near the Caribbean. Both vessels, the motor tanker Bella One and the motor tanker Sophia, were either last docked in Venezuela or en route to it. The world's criminals are on notice. You can run but can't hide. We will never relent in our mission to protect the American people and disrupt the funding of narco-terrorism wherever we find it, period. So get to the messaging, if you can, with us on that, Senator, and what this says to other foreign nations perhaps wishing to do harm to Americans.
I think Secretary Noem's message could not be clearer. The world is on notice that we're not going to tolerate this anymore. And President Trump has delivered not with words, but with actions. This isn't a presidency that's doing press releases. What you saw in previous administrations is a lot of talk but not a lot of action. President Trump has stepped up and taken decisive action here to take